people are excited, right? Things are changing. This is a disruptive company that we have here. We're doing things that most people in the capital markets wouldn't dream of doing.
Hey everyone, welcome to our latest TDR Psychedelic Exclusive. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Hope you had a good week last week. Big company, big announcement. There's a company going public tomorrow on the CSE that's all about the third wave of this whole functional drugs landscape, and it's a hot, contested topic right now, but it's a promising one as we welcome back in SPLY streaming this time. Their CEO, Bill Panagiotakopoulos. Can't believe I pronounced that correctly, but I got it.
You did.
Good to see you, sir. Geoff Benic, he's also the CEO of Safety Strips. Good to have you on. How are things?
Great, Chad. Great being on.
Yeah, it was great to have you on. Bill, we'll start with you. Last week, Benzinga Conference, Chicago. What a turnout it was. You guys actually presented at that conference on stage. And from what I saw, a lot of positive feedback. So what was the dialogue that you were communicating to a lot of institutional investors at the event? And what was some of the feedback that you heard while you were there?
Well, we're going down the narrative that, listen, the war on drugs is coming to an end. Most countries have put forth some kind of an ideas how they want to go about a legalization or at least a descheduling.
Yeah.
So a lot of the investors are looking at us and saying, okay, well, what does that mean? And they quickly come to realize that it's the third and final descheduling. So cannabis came first. We saw what happened there. Psychedelics was second, and now they're looking at it. The broad strokes are globally that this is the third and final wave of descheduling, decriminalizing, ultimately legalizing, and finding a real business behind this to be able to support the populace.
So you being CEO of the company, like I had Ronan Levy and Seti Coscarello on a couple of weeks back just to create some attention towards this company. Are you seeing and hearing a lot of positive dialogue amongst government officials on the war on drugs, how it's not working, and more or less we're 40 years later since Nancy Reagan, and they're actually putting this at the forefront and aggressively looking for different solutions?
Yeah, I mean, look, the evidence is there. It just doesn't work. Putting more police, looking for more of these shipments hasn't really helped. I mean, of course they do. They make somewhat of a dent in that. But the reality is that if you want to go to any major city in the world and want to find cocaine, you want to find heroin, you want to find ecstasy, MDMA, those are available. It's not really that difficult.
Yeah.
In fact, just like prohibition, you could jump into any cab in any city and rest assured you're going to find whatever supply you're looking for. So we're looking at this, and you look at countries like Switzerland that's put a motion. So Bern, Switzerland, the capital of Switzerland, has put a motion to their federal government to say, hey, we want to actually start selling cocaine recreationally. Well, I mean, that changes the conversation quite a bit. You have a very conservative country that's come out and said, hey, listen, we're the highest per capita users of cocaine in all of Europe.
Yeah.
We see what's fentanyl and xylazine and all these horrible poisons have done in the North American market. So let's get ahead of it. Let's figure out a way of doing this so that we not only spend countless billions of dollars trying to police it, but let's find a solution to it, make the taxes, and be able to help people, give people the support that they need.
Yeah, when you talk about solutions, Seti had mentioned to me that you guys plan to be an incubator that invests in various companies and properties within the industry. Geoff Benic, as I said off the top, joins us. You're the CEO of Safety Strips. So what exactly, like when I look at this, and I know we talked off camera a little bit in Chicago, I think it's safe to say everybody knows like the amount of deaths related to fentanyl over the past, I don't know how many years, has gone through the roof. So how do you tackle that sort of thing? And is that where kind of the idea of the whole business concept came to fruition?
You're talking to me, Shad?
Yeah, you, Geoff, yeah.
So Shad, thanks again for that. I mean, I just wanted to say one thing. As these shipments get stopped and, the authorities are enforcing it, there's more and more of the bad stuff that's being added to these drugs and they become tainted, right? So we see ourselves on the forefront of saving lives. So our whole business here is about saving lives through fentanyl test strips and xylene test strips and what other test strips we're going to have to develop as these drugs start to morph and new ones start to come onto the market, right? So what we're doing is we're creating awareness. We're going to educate people on how to use these strips. And ultimately, we're going to save lives because that's what we do. We save lives. And I could tell you in Chicago, these strips up until a little while ago were considered drug paraphernalia. So they were illegal.
Yeah.
So here we are out trying to save lives, get them out in the hands of people, educate them, and make sure everyone has them. And for the longest part, they were banned, right? But I could tell you, when we were out there handing them out to all the audience, all the speakers, the followers, everyone at the show, it was incredible. I must have handed out about 2,000 of these strips in the lobby bar and up in the conference rooms and whatnot. Not once did I find one left behind or on the floor.
All gone.
Yeah.
All gone.
All gone. All 2,000.
All 2,000, right? All gone. And people were coming up to me asking me for some more, right? So look, we're really trying to bring a problem into the spotlight.
Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer the only way, Shad, you can fix a problem is you got to address it. You got to bring it to the spotlight, and you got to let people feel comfortable. You got to get them access to these strips so that they can, in their own privacy, their own home, or however they want to get them, or however they want to test, but they have the ability to test it.
How familiar are you guys with the whole, like, how long has it been since Portugal decriminalized drugs? Has it been like
2001? It's been over 20 years, actually.
Has it been over 20 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, Geoff, are you familiar with that landscape? And like, when the early days of your business model, like, do you use a lot of examples as to what they've done right pertaining to decriminalizing, but more importantly, how people view it differently versus saying paraphernalia?
Right. I mean, people in Portugal look at this as a way of saving lives. Now, so they've broken out and they've tested a lot of the drugs. They've made safe supply available because it's legal. And ultimately, their death rates have gone down tremendously. And furthermore, their success in reducing people's addictions have improved tremendously, right? So look, at the end of the day, Shad, this is a collective effort.
Yeah.
Okay. So I look at there's two goalposts here. One is we want to save lives, and that's what we're doing with Safe Strip, and we're a portfolio company to build and
Safe Supply Streaming. Yep.
Okay. And by the way, congratulations tomorrow, Bill. You're going to be trading, and that's excellent. Looking forward to some excitement.
SPLY on the Canadian Securities Exchange.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, by the time this video goes out, you guys will be trading live on the CSE. So when we look at this total addressable market, Bill, we talk about a lot of the initiatives and how we need to look at things differently. As far as meeting with investors and people on Bay Street and Wall Street, what's the feedback been like?
Well, most people see that the wave is coming, and almost everybody has a loved one at some point in their lives that's been touched by these overdoses, these addictions, these deaths. So a lot of people are really happy to see that we're taking the initiative to say, hey, look, there's the governments, there's brave policymakers, there's incredible politicians that are putting their neck out on the line and saying, hey, we need to change, and they're enacting change. Now it's up to us in the private sector to support that change. In the last 18 months alone, over $2 billion have been pumped into or have been put into British Columbia on this crisis alone. Over $2 billion. Yeah, so that's almost half the cannabis market just in supporting halfway houses, addiction counseling, and everything else. So the addressable market before 1 gram of legal cocaine or ecstasy or MDMA is sold in Canada, never mind globally, is in the multi-billions of dollars. And we're investing in that through amazing companies like Safety Strip that are going to be retailing all through North America. And I mean, the Safety Strips their market could be in the hundreds of millions of dollars by this time next year alone, because again, the fentanyl test strip was taken off of the drug paraphernalia list in most of the states in the United States, the U.S. That gives over 200 million people access to test what they're about to consume, right? And a lot of people are using drugs, and a lot of people are using it for recreational or for coping mechanism, whatever it is. People need to have the power in their hands to be able to test what they're taking, so that they don't die, or so that they don't become addicts to a substance that they didn't want to consume.
Yeah. When I actually, in our last podcast, I thought this was interesting when we brought up the whole like condom usage in the early 90s. Magic Johnson, when he was diagnosed with HIV, and how that basically brought awareness everywhere. And when you were at a bar, even a pub, like in a city, you'd go to a bathroom and you'd see like, different like vending machines set up for like obviously protection. When I look at this, and like you said, the amount of overdoses that are taking place, this to me seems like a common sense choice that this is going to happen, especially when you see major cities like Vancouver that are decriminalizing drugs. Like, this is what our landscape is going to look like. So Have you had a lot of conversations, Geoff, with vendors here in the early stages, and what's a lot of their feedback been like?
So, you're absolutely right. Back in the 80s, it was the condoms, no glove, no love. And so this is kind of replacing it in this new millennium now, is that very high in demand. So we've been talking with a lot of the big chains, drugstore chains, both here and south of the border in the U.S., as well as some of the convenience channels, gas stations, et cetera, and some of the vending machines in some of these places that you talked about, bars, restaurants, et cetera, et cetera. And it's overwhelmingly everyone is supporting it. Everyone is shocked that no one's actually been out there distributing these strips, getting them in the hands of people, getting the education up, building all the content and the support so people know how to use them and use them properly, and then ultimately make sure that they use them. So look, if I was a parent right now,
Yeah.
and which I am, okay, but both my kids have graduated university here in Canada. But if I was a parent and I had a kid going off to college in the U.S. or college here in Canada, college anywhere in university anywhere in the world, as a matter of fact, I would make sure that they had these
A
kits
hundred,
in their possession,
hundred
right?
percent, 100%. There's a lot of well-known, me being in the broadcasting field, like I know a lot of big name broadcasters whose sons, were off at university. And now what are they doing? Spending their time? They're trying to raise money for awareness towards addiction, for
Yeah.
overdoses, because their kids have passed away. And I'm sure everybody has a story like that that's right now. But I look at this whole war on drugs and the whole Nancy Reagan regime, it's kind of like a mainstream media PSA push. And we're so past that now, which is why podcasts like mine actually want to get real, to have the real conversations that people aren't talking about. Because when you're away from the cameras and you walk into like every single store or restaurant, everybody is probably fully on board because they're seeing and hearing this every single day, which
Yeah.
is why it's top of mind awareness, I would think. And to your point earlier, Bill, I would think there's a lot of government officials that are not leaving any stone unturned right now.
Yeah, guys, there's a big push here. People have woken up to the fact that most, young adults and uh, everybody on the earth can actually have access to these drugs. So let's clean them up. Let's make things safer for everybody, and then let's focus on the real issues. The real issues is addiction. The real issues are abuse. And how do we build up, our company for Safe Supply to be able to touch as many of these amazing companies that are out there that are starting to gain momentum now and be part of this winning story.
So, you being an incubator, how many companies do you see launching over the next 12 months within this space?
Well, for the last 2 years, Shad, we've been looking at who's out there, and there's right now on our books 9 companies that we're looking at that are both well managed, well run, well capitalized, and real. They intend on making change, and they'll all be public by the end of next year. 2 of them are going to be public by January, actually. So it's going to be an exciting next 24 months.
How do you see, I guess, the development of your company and the overall industry when you see like MAPS data for MDMA? That was pretty telling to say the least. But rumor has it the FDA could actually legalize MDMA, excuse me, by mid-year next year. Does that help pull you along to get
Oh, yeah.
people kind of look at things differently?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we have MDMA was considered a hard drug up and until the psychedelic march came on, right? And people were looking at it and didn't know what to make of it. Now there's going to be an FDA drug made after coming out with it. So people are starting to look at what we're doing and appreciate and understand that, yeah, Bill, we're not just a British Columbia descheduling story. We're in an Australia legalizing MDMA, ecstasy, and psilocybin for medical use. And
Yeah.
later on this year, they're just going to deschedule all narcotics. Scotland is coming out and saying, we're descheduling everything. We can't deal with this anymore. It's the wrong approach. You have even some countries in the Middle East that are looking to bring in CBD into the country for medical use. So everywhere around the world, everybody's waking up and saying, hold on a sec. We need these drugs for different purposes, not only for recreational, but we can make these into actual FDA approved drugs that can help people. But also, we're tired of fighting it. The fight doesn't work. We're just, for the most part, we're not really hurting the heads of these organizations. All we're doing is hurting the people down below. So let's figure out a way, get people to have access, clean access. Let's regulate it. Let's be part of their journey. Let's talk to people why they shouldn't do drugs, and if they're going to do drugs, how they should best do drugs, and if they're going to do the best practices in consuming drugs, let's just be there along the way to help them when they're ready to get off the drugs.
Important to share too, like you want to talk about getting attention. You've been featured in Vice magazine, Rolling Stones, had an interview on Bloomberg. So you're getting a lot of attention, right?
Well, people are excited, right? Things are changing. This is a disruptive company that we have here. We're doing things that most people in the capital markets wouldn't dream of doing. We're coming out and saying, hey, we see the problem. We all see the problem, but we're going to do something about it and support the politicians that are enacting these incredible policy changes to be able to safeguard their population. And we're there. We're front and center. We're talking to the government officials, the different. We've talked to our head of our CNP divisions that have given us the true behind the scenes story of what's going on. And this, in most people's opinion, this is the only way of dealing with drugs around the world. Stop trying to fight something that obviously we're losing and start trying to regulate it, to understand it, so that we can focus on the solution.
Yeah, 100%. Geoff, you echo that?
I echo that, Chad. And you know, there's nothing worse than some kid out there for the first time ever in their life, they try something.
Yeah, 100%.
And they die.
Yeah.
Right? Just tragic. And that's what we got to stop. And it's not just a kid. It's a mother. It's a father. It's a grandfather. It's an aunt. It's an uncle. It's a brother, sister. It's everybody. We've got to stop it. And we got to stop turning our eye to thinking that this problem's going to solve itself.
We need to stop being politically correct and address the issue, right?
Let's address the issue.
Yeah. There's real problems.
We're talking
and Geoff,
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people dying every year from opiates. And these are just ones that we know of. Because, you know, still in the Privacy Act, you know, someone doesn't have to disclose what they died from, right? It doesn't have to go in the, they could just say, hey, no, we don't want any, we don't want reference of this anywhere. It's too bad Junior died, and we want to keep this a private matter, right?
Yeah. And how about the people that, Shad, how about the people that survive but are now hopelessly addicted to fentanyl? So some kid wanted to try ecstasy to, go through a weekend of partying with their friends, and all of a sudden now they're looking for fentanyl on the street because they've been duped into taking something they didn't want to take, and now they're addicted, and now there's no real support because to be able to admit that you're addicted to fentanyl, that's a big, that's kind of a weird situation. The governments are ill-equipped to really deal with it financially. So what happens is a lot of these people just go further and further into the underground and get hurt more and more.
Yeah, 100%.
There's hundreds of thousands of deaths. There's even more people that are being tricked into taking these chemicals. They're getting addicted to something they should never have even ingested ever in their lives. And now they have very, very poor choices to where to go.
Yeah, I think, especially at this psychedelic space with the data, the whole view and how we look at this concept is going to change completely. If you guys had to predict, let's say in the next 5 years, do we see a lot of countries start to decriminalize across the country drugs? You do? You see that?
It's already happening. It's already happening. Every province in Canada has asked for a descheduling. You have Oregon, you have Colorado.
California vote coming up, right?
California's coming up. All these states are saying we can't keep doing what we're doing. It's not working. We're hurting our population. You have Scotland. The European Union has put forth a motion to say that we need to deschedule narcotics. Of course, Australia, New Zealand. So around the world, it's coming. Now, if it's gonna happen in the next 2 to 5 years, it's coming. It's going that way.
Interesting to see how this goes. So right now, as far as competition, are you kind of like an early mover advantage, first one out of the gate pertaining to this industry for an actual company that's going public, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, we're the first real company to go out there and put our flag down and say, hey, we're looking at the drug world and we're going to help finance what makes sense. Now that may not be the drugs itself, obviously, because they're not legal yet, but it is for the whole ecosystem. So I believe we're the first real company to come out and say, hey, we're tackling this problem, this global problem, right now.
Trading on the CSE under the ticker symbol SPLY. Let's see how this goes, but exciting to say this, exciting to say the least. More importantly, creating a lot of attention, whether it's people on Bay Street, Wall Street, or consumers, or even family members that have been hit by this. But it's definitely a popular topic that's only going to garner more and more attention, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bill, Geoff, appreciate the time. Let's catch up soon. And more importantly, let's keep in touch, okay?
Thanks, Shad. Thanks for getting the message out there.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
What's up, everyone? So what'd you think of the interview? Are there any more questions you want us to ask that you want to learn more of? Then leave a comment below and let us know what you think. As usual, share this video with your network, smash that like button, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.